Hey everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking. I am your host, Jennifer Snook, and I am so happy to have you here today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. I really do. Here is what's been going on in mine. So anyone that knows me knows that I hate labels. I stay away from them at all costs because I really think that they limit people, right? Because once you start labeling yourself, you kind of start limiting yourself. Like, I'm this. But it kind of, it blocks you out from all the other things that you could be. But that being said, the fact of the matter is that I do have a new label, and that label is Salon Mom. So a few weeks ago, I got a call from our very dear family friend, Rihanna, who is co-owner of one of the most prestigious hair salons in the world, quite frankly. And Rihanna and her incredible partner, Nikki, have built the most incredible salon and beauty standard and beauty brand, quite frankly. And they just recently had their own reality show launch. And they have just created something really to be admired, something that has earned them both such respect in the beauty industry, and they've really set a standard. And anyway, and not only are they incredible in their professional lives, but they are just incredible people. They are dear friends of our family. They are dear friends of mine. They hold such a special place in my heart. And I got this call from Rihanna, and they were doing some reshuffling at the salon, and they asked me to come to the salon and to be salon mom, which, it's kind of a broad term, but it just kind of, it just kind of means that you just kind of hold it together, just kind of like a mom does, but in a salon setting. And I just have to tell you, I've been there for just over a week now, and it has been just the most incredible experience. And everyone there has been so gracious and so welcoming and so wonderful. And it is just a joy to be there and to support the salon, and support the girls who I love so much, because that's their baby and I love them. And when you love someone, you love their babies, and that's their baby. So I'm just so happy to be there, and truthfully just so honored that they would trust me with that position. I mean, it is just an honor, and not one that goes overlooked. So I am so grateful. But that being said, I've been spending a lot of time at the salon, which means that my new little Albie, my new little puppy, has been left alone. And we bought him the cutest little, it's a plush little, like his own little apartment. It's not like a wire crate. It is it's luxurious, you guys. It is, it's got like bumper rails. It's like a setup, but he is such a savage that, well, actually it was my fault. The first day I didn't latch one latch, and he found his way out. And then the second time, he was in it and he was fine, and he was all cooped up, and he went bananas when I got home. But then the third time, I guess somehow in the interim, he had chewed through a little of the netting. And so the third time when I came home the other day, he was out and about like he was the king of the castle, and just like living large, and it was hilarious. And let's see. So what else do we have going on? Okay, so we have the 49er game going on. Football is really coming to a head right now. My Niners are heading for the NFC Championship this Sunday against the Lions, right? Isn't it the Lions that we're going up against? Yes, the Lions. For the championship, I am so pumped. I would love to be in the Bay so much, but I'm not going to be. I'm going to be here. But I see it. I feel like it's going to be the Niners. I really do. I really genuinely do. Niners are my number one team, and it goes against the grain, but truthfully, my number two team is the Raiders. I'm a Bay Area girl. I root for the Bay 100%. So, that's that's just who I am. I would never root against a Bay Area team no matter what. I've never been it's a Raider or a Niner thing. I've always been a Niner girl, but if it's not the Niners, I would love it to be the Raiders. You know what I mean? And actually, it's funny that I've been to a Raider Super Bowl, but I've never been to a Niner Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, I've two of my partners have been huge Raider fans, so yeah, so I've spent a lot of time cheering for the Raiders. Um, who I'm not a fan of is so those are my two favorite teams, and my least favorite team is the Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, and truthfully, you can blame the kid that sat behind me. His name was James, and I'm not going to say his last name because I think that would be inappropriate, and I just I don't want to get in trouble. Anyway, James, who sat behind me in third grade, had one of those shiny Steelers jackets, and he used to hide his finger up in his jacket, and then he used to pick his nose and eat it, and I used to gross out on him so much that because of his hygiene, I started hating the Steelers. So, sorry Steelers, but you can blame James, starts with a Y. I will leave it there. Anyway, in other reality news, Alexis Bellino has officially named John Jansen's dog as her own. Alexis posted a solo shot of her and Johnny J's dog because, according to Alexis, she loves him just as much as she loves his dad. She told the world that they're going to be seeing Banks, which is the name of John's dog. They're going to be seeing Banks on her IG because he has, and I quote, become a part of this crazy love story, and he is her fur baby now too. And so now at this point, it's hard to believe that she's not just trying to dig that dagger into Shannon just a little bit deeper, because I mean, the dog, really? And then she went on to talk about on her IG how while her and John were away for her birthday celebration, the dog was so well taken care of, and then right after that post came like a whole array of birthday pictures that highlighted her and John because that was the cover photo. So I'm just saying, everybody, buckle up, because this season of The Real Housewives of Orange County is going to be something. We are in for a wild ride. And truth be told, just in case you're wondering, I do not feel badly for Shannon. I don't feel badly for her at all, because truthfully, like I have said 100 times before, Shannon needed to get off this show and heal her soul, and do that for herself. But she hasn't learned that yet. So maybe this season will be what wakes her to the reality of the fact that, life doesn't revolve around this reality show, and her sanity is what's really at stake here, and that she can pivot away from this and be okay. I really think that everything happens for a reason, and Shannon is stubborn. She could have acquiesced after that fucking calamity that happened to her with the DUI. Like, if that wasn't a message that it was time for a shift, I don't know what was. So, sorry, if you're going to be a glutton for punishment and still be so stubborn and not be able to see that, then maybe seeing this situation with Alexis and John right in your face is what the universe ordered. And so then there's LD Millionaire, who also goes by the name of Monica's mom. LD Millionaire is what she calls herself on X, or what's formerly known as Twitter. And I just have to say that I honestly think that woman is just an absolute wreck. I mean, she was posting just yesterday about how Bravo did her so dirty, and how she's so pissed that she didn't get invited to the reunion to set her story straight. I'm telling you, if there is no way that any remotely rational, functioning human being cannot see how sick and twisted that poor woman is. It is awful. It is horrendous, and it truthfully makes me feel so sorry for Monica. It really does. I don't know how you can look at her mother and think that there was any hope for Monica without any like a real intervention away from that woman's craziness. How was there any hope for Monica? Because I don't see it. Okay, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do a reality check. Welcome back. It is time for our weekly reality check. Maybe this week I should be calling it reunion check. So, Southern Charm this season has, in my opinion, been the very best ever. I mean, I think this has been the most amazing season. So, the reunion starts out with that little leprechaun who, I'm not sure where he came from, but oh my God, he's too much, that JT. So JT says he's planning on performing the first fuckboy exorcism. Then he goes on to hurl insult after insult at Austin, and then says, "I'm gonna keep this coming all day long." And then we phase into learning that Craig is into light bondage, we should call it. Yeah, he's into light bondage. And then we find out that Shep does not satisfy his women. And basically, in the end, we find out that Austin is the best in bed of all the boys. So there's that, which I don't think anybody would have suspected. I definitely would not have suspected that about Austin. But, I mean, good for Austin. Taylor shows what a tricky little bitch that she really is, and when she tried to throw Olivia under the bus for hooking up with Thomas Ravenel. I mean, that whole Thomas Ravenel thing that she tried to throw her under the bus for was so wrong. I could not believe that. And it was funny because on the unedited version on Peacock that airs, I watched that, and they were cutting to break, and as Olivia stood up and walked by Taylor, she called her the C word. And I'm telling you something, that the C word is one thing in its own right? But it hits different when it has that southern drawl. So Olivia walked by her and goes, cunt. I don't know how she said it, but it was special. I'm telling you, it was something. There is definitely no love lost there for sure. Then Rod and Rodrigo join the party. And that Rod is a sweet guy. I mean, he's boring as a beige bra, but he is a very sweet guy. Rodrigo is a little spicier, it has to be said. The subject of Olivia's beige bra does come up, and Leva actually spits some really, I thought, kind of insightful wisdom about the beige bra when defending Olivia. She says that if a girl wants to hook up with someone, she's not going to wear a beige bra. And I have to say, I think that there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, yeah, I really do. If she was going over there for anything clandestine, she's not wearing a beige bra. And also, I mean, I could fully see myself just hanging out, taking my bra off, just because why would I give a shit about the people around me? I'm just looking to be my most comfortable self. And then if I'm halfway out the door and like I don't want to deal with it, I could absolutely see myself saying just throw it away. I don't think there's anything wrong with that accusation. I mean, I'd be like, hurl that accusation at me. Like, fine, yeah, I left my bra there. Big fucking deal. It's just a bra. Yeah, I think at that point though she was done with that. I fully believe Olivia. Um then we find out, speaking of Olivia, that she has a new man. And that not only does she have a new man, but that this new man and Austin have become buds. Um, which, I mean, good for them. It's better than the alternative. And then we dive into Vanita telling Taylor not to come over after we found out that Olivia's brother had died. And I got to tell you, I really thought that Vanita was doing the right thing in that instance, because I cannot imagine a situation like Olivia's and being in her shoes and wanting Taylor there in any instance. I wouldn't. She has an awkward vibe going with Taylor right now. And sorry, when you're in a state like that, regardless of, how you got there, or whatever the circumstance is, when you are that traumatized, the last thing you want to do is have someone around you who only makes you feel more awkward and outside of your own body, because that's fuck. I mean, your whole bandwidth is fully being taken up by this overwhelming circumstance that you don't want to have to be considering this other weird, element of your life that's going on right now. So I think it was just so out of touch, honestly, for Taylor to even want to go over there in the first place. I really do. I think it was just so gross and so, like, everybody knows I hate the word narcissistic, but truthfully, narcissistic, because all she was thinking about in that instance is, how that might make her look and how she could look better. I think she was trying to look better. Like, she was looking for an opportunity to kind of, save face. I really do. I don't think that Taylor is also well-intentioned. I really don't. I think that we met her playing the part of Shep's doting girlfriend so that she could get the engagement ring, and I think that that's not who she really is. I think she has a lot of growing up to do and a lot of wrestling with who she really is before she gets anywhere close to where she wants to be. Okay, so after that, then the whole cast comes at Austin about his choices and decisions, and that was a lot. I mean, and then during that, JT turns to Craig and says to Craig, you're a good dude. You're like an honorable dude, but, you should be super careful because the people that you hang out with reflect who you are. And, you don't want to be tainted by your association with Austin. And the whole time I'm watching this, it was just so rich to hear it. I mean, just the whole thing was just so bizarre, because wasn't it just a few years ago that Craig was the one who everyone was coming at because he's the one that had his head up his ass, and now this guy JT is looking at Craig like he's Oz or something, like he is literally the Wizard of Oz, and like he is, like, Craig sets the Southern Charm standard, and Craig should really be careful about who he associates with, when meanwhile he was associating with these guys long before this little leprechaun leapt onto the scene. I mean, where did he even come from? No one really knows. And also it's kind of a testament to the fact that, instead of people judging so much, they need to like look at all of the shit as a lesson, because if you've been around Southern Charm long enough, you can remember back to when it was when Shep thought he had it all together, and it was, the other boys whose lives were fucked up. Shep thought he had it all together. And now look at Shep. He's in a much more vulnerable position. He doesn't have all the answers. He's admitting that. And it was just a few years ago that Craig was the one who was so desperately lost, and everyone, was giving up on him, and now people are giving up on Shep. But it's it's that age-old lesson that we have to keep remembering, that we all come into this universe and this this existence on different planes and at different places in our lives. We all don't come in at the same level. You know what I mean? Some of us are further along. That's why you hear people use the term old souls. There are old souls and there are young souls. And everyone pulls their head out of their ass when they're ready to do it, not when you want them to do it, as we saw with Craig. And it was great that we got to see that. And speaking of seeing stuff, I've never seen a mea culpa like the one I saw from Shep. I mean, I really thought that was a huge step for him. And the fact that he admitted that he spent all of BravoCon blackout drunk, I mean, is really huge. I mean, that is really something to lay out there. That is, I'm sure, just absolutely just so hard for him to do. But when it's that hard, when something is that hard, that can be your bottom. Not everyone needs to be living under a bridge for that to be your bottom. When you can look back on something like BravoCon and realize that you weren't even present for it, that can be your bottom. So, you know, I mean, if that's what the purpose that served for Shep, then it served its purpose. You know what I mean? You can't regret something that helped you grow. You just can't. It's why, truthfully, I say all the time that my drug addiction built me into the person that I could be proud of, only because it really helped me grow so much. And I know that goes against conventional wisdom, but truthfully, I wouldn't change that experience for anything in the world. So I can see how Shep could look back on BravoCon and be nothing but grateful for it. And I have no reason to doubt what Shep said at the reunion, that he's ready to change. I'm sure he is. How can he not be? How can he not look back on the fact that it was just a few years ago that he was the one that was passing judgment on everybody, and now, you know, everyone is in the position that he kind of wishes that he was in, and now he's not. You can't help but look at yourself. I mean, he is at that age where it just kind of starts happening on a biological level, that you start being more insightful. Hopping over to Beverly Hills, it is the morning after the celebration of life that Kyle threw for her friend. And I mean, that was such a gorgeous event. But the next morning, Kyle goes over to Sutton's, who is doing her best Martha Stewart impression. Kyle goes in the house, opens the fridge, and finds more beauty products in her fridge than she finds food products. And this is all happening right around the time that everyone is just, you know, the fact that Mauricio didn't show up to the event, to Kyle's event, is just making everyone just, you know, raising all the red flags. And now Sutton is, you know, she just cannot overlook this. It's like she says, you have to be dead or in a ditch to not show up for your wife's dead friend. And let's face it, she's not wrong. And then Crystal and Garcelle rehash ESPOHAGATE because, you know, more of that drama went down at the party. And honestly, if I hear any more about Sutton's narrow esophagus, I mean, ever, it will be way too soon. It's just, I mean, so boring. But it was through the conversation that Crystal and Garcelle had that we learned that Crystal actually wanted to be a doctor herself, but sacrificed that dream to be a professional wife to Mr. Disney, who I know he's not really Mr. Disney, but you know what I mean. Then we skip over to the Beverly Hilton, where we see Dorit prepping and planning for her annual, I'm going to get this right. And this is how I remember it, you guys. You remember, I mean, obviously they're both very important, but your home should come before your teeth. So homeless, not toothless. So I just remember the home is primary, and then the teeth are next. So homeless, not toothless. Dorit is over there prepping and planning. PK is with her, and they're walking the space, and she is expressing how she is feeling so much better about their relationship. She says that PK is more tuned in, more present ever since they had that counseling session where he was mashing on that pizza. Then we go to lunch with Crystal and her little brother, who I think that guy's a doll. I really do. I think he's the sweetest little thing. We learn a lot about their relationship. We learn more about his relationship with Vivi and where they stand now. He goes on to tell Crystal that none of his girlfriends have ever been or ever felt accepted. And Crystal immediately says, by me and Mom, because she knows that her and Mom have, given this poor kid so much grief, all in an attempt to just keep themselves feeling safe. That's what it is. People try to manipulate other people's lives to keep them feeling safe. She doesn't want to lose her brother, so she ran all the other chicks off in his life. And, it gets to a point where that's like he said to his sister, I have to remove myself from you to grow into the man that I'm meant to be. And that is part of everyone's, path to kind of extricate themselves from their family of origin enough that they can find their own footing and find their own lane within that family, and then expand their lane with their own family. So anyway, I really thought it was beautiful to see the growth between them, and thank God that she is finally seeing that more of that behavior is only going to make things worse with her brother. So I thought it was great. Then we are actually at the event, at the Homeless Not Toothless event, and there's more of that divide showing up between Kyle and Mauricio on the way to the event. You can feel it, and then it's that feeling between them. When you're done with a relationship and the switch has been flipped, it feels to me like at that point the switch was already flipped. You could just absolutely feel that disconnect, and it's just something that it's just palpable. You can't deny it. You're crazy. And you can, when Kyle sits there and says, oh no, I'm going to Spain, you can literally see the shock in Mauricio's face that he's like, oh yeah, no, this is definitely happening. This is where we're going with this. Kyle called it a taste of his own called it a taste of his own medicine. And you could see that. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen Mauricio look more uncomfortable in front of the camera since this show started than I saw him in that car ride on the way to the event. And then when they got to the step and repeat, they both looked so incredibly uncomfortable together. And then the way that he walked away from her and said, here, you get some pictures on your own. I'm telling you, there was something in his tone that I've never heard before. And it is just disconnect. They are no longer the way they once were. And there's just no denying it. They are so uncomfortable now. And it's just uncomfortable to watch. You've heard of the term keeping up appearances. Those two are the poster children. And then Dorit announces Paula Abdul, who then announces Taylor Dayne. And listen, if you're not over 35, you might not know who the hell Taylor Dayne really is, but sweetie, let me just tell you, the rest of us do. And then, you know what I love about Dorit? The way when Taylor Dayne came out, much like when they were at Magic Mike, she is just so there. She is loving it. She is fully engaged. And so is Erica. And so is everyone at this point. For the love of God, this is Taylor Dayne, who, P.S., looked amazing and she sounded fire. It felt like it was 1988 all over again. Take me, I'm yours, into your arms. Never let me go. Tonight I really need to know. Tell it to my heart. Anyway, I loved it. After Taylor finishes, the women all sit down at a table to try and iron out the tension that has erupted around ESPOHAGATE. They have a trip to Spain that they're about to go on, and so they're trying to just make sure that everyone is in a space where they can actually enjoy themselves. And then Anne-Marie calls Sutton the next morning to give her a formal apology. Then Erica calls Crystal to discuss the fact that Anne-Marie, the fact that Crystal called Anne-Marie a bitch at the homeless not toothless thing. And Crystal goes, yeah, like it might be rude to call someone a bitch, but she was being one. And honestly, I mean, can we just be real about the fact that if the tables were turned and it was Erica that screamed bitch in someone's face at a formal fundraiser, Crystal would be appalled, and she would be saying in her confessional that she's just so disappointed in Erica. She's just reverting back to her old self. Well, who are you really, Crystal? Like, who are you really? Truthfully, she just, poor Crystal, she's just a judgy bitch. That's just the bottom line. She judges everyone hard, especially herself. And that's why she struggles so much. Anyway, then the ladies say adios to LA and hola to España. Well, part 3 of the Salt Lake City reunion did not disappoint. It confused the hell out of me, but it did not disappoint. So the first part of it was just more of the same with Monica. This episode was the Monica and Heather show. The first part was more of Monica just doing the same thing she's been doing the last 2 reunion episodes, just defending herself, trying to explain. No one's really listening. They're just trying to catch her out. Yeah, the Monica thing, she could have, I think Monica honestly at that point could have said anything and they really wouldn't have cared. But then we get to the black eye of it all. And I'm just going to tell you, this is where I get really confused. I mean, God knows, I know that Monica did some messed up shit, and she absolutely did. But she's not the only one, right? I mean, there's Heather and the black eye. I mean, and what is this bullshit that Heather says she was too scared to speak out against Jen, and that's why she, quote, covered for her? I mean, I could not be more confused. And now she's like all like just so defiant about Jen Shaw. And like, is that why she's just being so, she's overcorrecting so absurdly in this Monica situation? I mean, it is so unbelievable. And then the way Heather gave that melodramatic apology about the way she handled the whole situation. And I mean, and honestly, don't you have to say, like, it's about fucking time? I mean, truthfully, it's about time. And also, I don't understand why it had to be so drama. Couldn't it just have been, we were drunk wrestling, don't ask us, we don't have any good answers? I mean, she said herself 100 times that they were just having fun and just, it was just a drunken night. She never said that there was any ill will. She never felt any ill will, no malice. No, why couldn't it just have been a fucking accident? I don't understand that. But instead of just saying we don't know and just laughing it off, which you can easily do that. I mean, hello, how many people have woken up with a bruise, and no, it doesn't matter where it is, after a drunken night, and nobody like thinks that it was necessarily malicious, unless, you know, you want to blame the booze. So, I mean, truthfully, in my opinion, Heather was the one that created that whole entire chaos about the eye. I don't understand why it even turned into what it turned into. But I think she knows that she created something out of nothing, and I think she's super defensive about it. That's why she's taking this sanctimonious stance about Monica. And when Andy brings up her lies and then asks her if Monica deserves the same Grace, she can't say yes. She tries to draw a distinction, and I just don't see it, honestly. I really don't. And I've always loved Heather. I've been a huge Heather fan, but honestly, I think she's lacking integrity in this instance. And then when when Andy asked Heather if Jen ever thanked her for covering for her, she did this big dramatic no, and like made it out like she even needed to be thanked. What the fuck does Heather need to be thanked for? Thanks for covering. What was she actually covering? The fact that they had a fun drunken night together. I mean, if I was spending a weekend away with my friend who was about to go into prison, and we got blackout Sally drunk, I wouldn't necessarily think that, I wouldn't at all think that I was covering for her. I would just think that we had a great night, right? She knows that there was no malicious intent. She absolutely knows that. I mean, that's why Jen Shah is denying that she did it, because she knows that there wasn't any malice, and she knows that Heather knows that there wasn't any malice. But now Heather's trying to turn herself. She tries to say to Monica, you're not the hero in this. Well, guess what, Heather? Neither are you. Because the fact of the matter is, there was nothing to cover up with the black eye. You fucking you panicked and stuck your foot in your mouth and made something out of it when it didn't need to be anything. It could have just been, oh my God, last night was such a shit show. We had the best time. Look at this evidence. Don't ask. Look at what happened to my eye. I mean, that's how you know we had a good time, right? I mean, it's all how you frame it. And if you know in your heart that it wasn't bad, which she said on the reunion numerous times, and on Watch What Happens Live last night, she reiterated again. She never once gave any vibe that there was any malice or it was anything bad. It was just a drunken fun night, and that was just the energy. But you know, when you have a drunken fun night, accidents happen. That's kind of part of the equation. You have to kind of create space for that. Like, it could have easily been Jen Shaw with the black eye. And then what? Would there have been a cover up? Like, I just don't get it. Like, is it because Jen is just like in the house that something goes wrong? I mean, if there was a house fire, would we have covered for Jen? Would that have been Jen? Like, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get why we had to cover for Jen when this was clearly an accident. And then the whole, Whitney going over and cradling her while Heather cries. I mean, what is with all that coddling? Why are you coddling something that she created out of an accident? Neither one of them knew how it happened. She said that. Whitney says, "Can I give you a hug?" And honestly, at that part, I'm, oh God, it was gross. And I think Heather knows that she went too far with the reality Von Teese of it all. I really do. And now she's playing the victim. So the victim to a situation that she co-created with a woman who's now in prison. I just don't get it. I don't buy Heather's bullshit about how she was afraid of Jen. I don't think she was afraid of Jen. I really don't. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's nothing to cover up. It's an accident. And the fact that Heather jumps to the fact that, we have to cover it up, that just seems like some old school Mormon programming to me. And then in the remaining moments, Andy asked the ladies what their warm and fuzzy and their cold and prickly were. And when it got to Monica, she said Bermuda and Bermuda. And honestly, I just thought that was so sad, because I really do think that Monica was really trying to forge genuine friendships with these women. I really do. And I think that Little Miss Sanctimonious over there, the premier liar herself, I just don't understand. I don't understand how Heather can perch herself up on that pedestal and talk about Monica's fucking character when she lied about something that, what about the producers that she roped into it? It could have been this, could have been that. And even people like making it out like Jen Shah did do something malicious. Jen Shah did not do anything malicious to Heather. I was going to say to that woman, to Heather. She did not do anything malicious to her. But, if you listen to Heather, you could think that Jen Shah did something malicious, but it wasn't. And you can tell by how authentic Heather is when she describes her confusion and how they were just having a good time. Sorry, even in your drunkest state, if you go from having a good time to something suddenly going south, you can feel it. It's an energy. You would feel it the next morning when Jen showed up. Sorry, I don't buy it. I think she's completely full of shit. And then the fact that she tries to wrap it up. Andy, she ruined my experience as a housewife. Toughen up. On Watch What Happens last night, Andy had Heather Gay on, and she was looking lovely, like she's had a whole new crop of facial procedures done, but looking lovely nonetheless. But Andy also went on to say that Variety is reporting that Monica is not being asked back next season. And Heather went on and was speaking as if it was already a done deal, that she already knows that, and she's going to be looking forward to filming with people who are actually her friends this year. And I just have to say, or next season, I should say, that I'm really going to be bummed if that's the case. Really sad that that Bravo won't be bringing Monica back, because there's no doubt that Monica brought to this show exactly what it needed. And the truth be told is that if you can't see that poor Monica has a fucked up background the same way these girls do, and they give allowances and second chances to 100 other people. I mean, how many horrible things has Mary Cosby done? What about the shit that they've said about her? But they welcomed her back with open arms. There's something about, I think Heather is truthfully just threatened by Monica. That's truthfully what I think it is. I think she's threatened by Monica, and so she's taking this sanctimonious stance when she really has no right to. She has no right to take. She's no better than Monica. And she's talking about Monica's character. Says the woman who lied to everyone for, over a year. Ridiculous. All right, now it's time for our question and answer period. So today's question comes from TikTok. So I did a video just recently about how I was super excited that Alexis Bellino is coming back to Orange County. And bringing Johnny J with her, and just how I'm excited to watch Shannon Bedore have to navigate this whole thing, right? So I did that post, and I got quite a few responses. One of them was this. It came from Mama6060, and she said, "I won't be watching. Shame, in capital letters, on you, Bravo, and shame on you for thinking this is okay. I thought you were about mental health." Then Tracy, at Tracy, agreed. And then at Tinkadink said, "Yes, I'm shocked at this post of hers." And here's what I have to say. I am very much about mental health. I'm about mental health, physical health, spiritual health, all the healths. That's exactly why I thought that Bravo should cut her loose after her drunken car crash. Because the truth is, Shannon needed a reset. She needed time away from that part she plays. Shannon has been in a very negative space, quite frankly, since the beginning. Because Shannon has a horrible relationship with herself, and she always has. And that's why Shannon's always struggled. She truthfully always has. But Shannon won't go anywhere. She's so deeply in denial. She won't admit that she has a problem. And here's what I know from my own personal experience. Until you can admit that you need some type of higher help, until you can admit that, you know what, I just can't, whatever I'm trying just isn't working. And you can give it up to someone. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be able to say, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm clearly getting something wrong. I need to learn more. I need to do things differently. The universe will just continue to present you with that same lesson. It's just going to keep cramming it down your throat over and over again until you learn it.
I mean, and Shannon's ego won't let her let go. It just won't. Last year wasn't enough for Shannon. She didn't learn the lesson. And truthfully, it makes me laugh about how, oh, I thought you were about mental health. Here's what I know about mental health. Tiptoeing around people's triggers is not how you handle mental health at all. Triggers are just indicators of where you really need to heal. I mean, if you avoid the triggers, then you avoid the healing. That's just the bottom line. Avoiding, and in Shannon's case, avoiding her healing is exactly what drove her onto that person's porch. And avoiding her healing is what she's been doing since the start. And here's a really important point about Shannon that I think needs to be made. The root of Shannon's issue is her relationship with herself. And that is a spiritual issue. It's not a mental health issue. It is a spiritual issue and a healing issue. And that is where Shannon needs to focus. And that is exactly why I don't think that she should be on this show right now, because I think she needs to realign herself with her peace and her purpose and her own intrinsic value. And once she finds that, it will realign her entire world. That about wraps up this episode of Generally Speaking. But before we go, I wanted to share a message that I think that we all need to hear more of. And that is this. Don't be afraid to try shit that scares you. Don't be afraid to do things that you've never done and to challenge yourself. Because it's when we challenge ourselves, whether it's mind, body, or spirit, that we change ourselves on a cellular level. And it's on that cellular level where real health begins. Okay, well, that is it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would please give us a 5-star rating and a follow, we would appreciate it very much. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking and on Instagram at The Jennifer Snook. I hope you have the very best day, and until we are together again, stay rooted in love.